We all set?
We are.
Okay. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the deputy clerk take the roll?
Counselor Alex here. Counselor Sorensen here. Counselor Hood. Counselor Gupta here. Counselor Mannion
Here.
Counselor Stevenson here. Supervisor Rector
Here.
Natoli here.
Hey, is there anyone here that was interested in speaking on something that was not on the agenda this morning? Okay, seeing none, we will move to our first item on the agenda this morning, our presentation from Sovereign Partners on a mixed-use development project. So, you want to come up? Thank you for getting the presentation here for the board to see.
Do you want me to come next to you to support you?
John Bartolotti with Del Paz Architects.
It's Bill Gentile with Sovereign Partner.
And we're here today to discuss kind of exciting development that, oh, great, I can control this. Okay, yeah. Exactly. So yeah, let's go here. So
Not to interrupt you, but if you put the box next to the X, it'll be bigger for
All the way
up.
One more up.
There we go.
Hey, everyone can see.
there we go.
John's first time using a computer today.
I think he's in class with me at the beach.
There we go.
100 years ago.
So this is at the project is right at an existing site of the Wide Waters Office Park, right? Very successful park. They've done a lot of upkeep on that, constantly releasing and constantly investing in that. So the owners are looking at what they have there, and there's a lot of land and a lot of existing park. You know, and just to frame ourselves to where we are, just for Empire State. This is Towpath Road up here in the green, and down below, right? You know, it's Kinney Road here. There's a residential development to the right, and then the Marshall's Plaza to the left over there. So there's a series of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 buildings that they currently own or leased right now, and all office use. So instead of looking at the land that's around it, there's a lot of parking, a lot of excess land there. And how can we, you know, increase the value of this, make it more vibrant? What's the chance to enhance this? And we started looking at different uses, and obviously always the first thing that comes is people say, well, mixed use, retail, environment, residential. And unfortunately, because of the situation of where this sits, retail is very, very difficult to kind of draw back all over here. Retail, we do a ton of retail all over the country. Retail, they usually look for 25 to 40,000 trips per day, cars. You know, they want right on the main corridors. They want, you know, controlled intersections. So from that national tenant, it's kind of challenging to do that. However, we said what will work really well here is residential. You know, can there be some small components of retail mixed use in there? We're not opposed to that, and that's kind of what we're going to kind of walk you through here. So we started looking at, you know, what can we do here, and what is it zoned right now? Right now, it's owned office and professional districts, so it doesn't allow for the use of residential. So we looked at different all your zoning and looked at the strategy, what would be the best fit, and we came up with the mixed use overlay 4, which is for large projects. I think over 25 acres. This whole track on this side is about 35 acres. And these 2 sites here, put those together, that's about 8 acres. So there's 42 acres totally. So we can fit the bill for that. And we just said, well, what would we want to do and how would we actually kind of lay this out and what would make sense? Because the synergy between office and residential is very strong. They have different, peak times. You've got shared parking that we can incorporate, and that was something very attractive because one of the things we want to make sure we do is develop this so that the office is still very successful. So we can't do anything that would diminish that. We want to enhance it with some residential. So what we've proposed is we came up with a concept of creating a series of 8 buildings. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this side, 2 little ones up and each one up in there. We looked at how we organize those. We worked with the town a little bit back and forth to make sure that this was in alignment with the planning was could see forward here. And I think we've come up with a very thoughtful plan that actually fosters that community kind of feeling, yet still keeping the professional office park intact. It has a concentration in the center, which is, we call this kind of the heart of the whole project. There's 3 buildings, A, B, and C. And all around that is some green space and nice park amenity spaces that would be creating a nice little community within the community. So you have this professional park with residential right there, and then you've got these releases now. And there's a whole strategy that we went through of how to connect these, how we enhance those, and how we protect the perimeters. But this is just going to give you an overlay of the layout right here. We've got a total of, these are all 5-story buildings. There's a total of 688 units right now, basically in the conceptual stage. This was like market rate apartments. I'm going to go to the next slide here. One of the concerns and thoughts of whenever we do something is how do we create that sense of place? People are there. What will they have when they're just? We don't want just a parking lot. So we're showing here a number of there's a great bike trail that we're bringing all the way through that connects us to the Empire Trail and brings us down to the south, connecting this right over to the retail center here and the restaurants that are down here. We've got a series of little secondary trails throughout the facility with these little micro parks, we'll call them little relief spots as you go around the trail. This would be a great walking, running trail throughout the place so that people that reside there can also have a nice outdoor experience. The right-hand side here, there is a number of houses right here. They're right adjacent to this. And we'll address that in a couple more slides later. But
There's what? I'm sorry.
Right here to the right, there's a number of residential existing homes right here. Now, the good thing is there's a pretty good natural barrier right now, about 100 feet wide. And it's a berm that's existing. It appears to be around 12 to 14 feet high here and down to maybe 10 feet down here, 8 feet. We're going to get that survey to confirm that. And on top of that is some substantial growth, which we're planning to keep and actually increase so that we create that barrier and keep that division between them. Because as you put buildings up here and people here, we want to screen it from the backyards. I know there's going to be concerns that we're going to address that as well. So let's go to the next slide here. So this is a slide that kind of just gives us our logic on, okay, well, if we're going to do this, how do we support the parking for the existing buildings that are there in parking? We have to make sure that they have ample parking. And yet, so this just kind of outlines, it's hard to see at this scale where we are, but it gives you the numbers that we've assigned to retail and the numbers we've assigned to residential. And we kind of put it, there was another slide on the other presentation. And we have a chart that actually goes through and gives you that. It's not in this version here. It's like there's a chart that shows the parking that we have, the counts we have, and it supports all about 3 per thousand for all the office, and it meets all the current requirements for the zoning for residential as well.
Because they figure the people during the day are gonna leave and then the
Yeah.
people that live there will come.
Exactly, right. They're not always there. Right now, we've done some visual studies. It's pretty empty out. There's a lot of people that are working remote, partly remote, so it makes it even more feasible. We've only used a shared percentage of about 10%. So I know you can go to 20 to 30%, but we didn't push that. I don't think we need to. We would get more parking, but and we've also done some land banking. And it's on the other presentation, but you can see, oh yeah, right here. See these right here? These are indicated as land banked. because they're not really pushed in. We've got some land bank in here as well. So I think we did some land banking over here so that we would not build that parking unless we need it. And I think here we got about two, I don't have that exactly. What did I do? It's right here. It's like we have I think it's 221. Sure. So land bank 229 and the shared parking is about 221. So right now we have 1,040 spaces provided for the current office building. And we have just shy of 899 for the residential with 229 shared. So you get a 1,490 for the office and 680.78 for the residential. Which I think it's combined. This is 1490, right? That's the share. 1,490 is the 1,000 we have plus the 220.
Yeah.
Yes. And then you get this down here as well, right? And then I'm gonna see the next one. So this kind of addresses, our berm to the right. Obviously there's this is an independent parking lot, so it's being used as where we can conceal our dumpsters, but that will change. Right now, I'm standing here and looking right at that. This is what this view looks like. So you can see, it's hard to tell in perspective, but that right there, I guarantee it's 12 to 14 feet high. So it gives a pretty good barrier, natural barrier that we can increase and enhance. And we took this early, so the leaves weren't really up yet. And now the leaves are, fully, right. As you come down a little farther, it's still pretty substantial barrier. And then as you get down here, this is probably the lowest that it is, but it's still up there pretty well. So it still gives a good visual barrier. Then I'm from the other side and kind of drove around the backside and took pictures of the houses. You can see the barrier right here. I'm on the street. I'm looking through their backyards, basically. I just kind of zoomed in a little farther just to get you a sense. There's the barrier right there. And then the trees are pretty substantial above this. So I think we had, and this is one I couldn't really get the houses. This is where we modeled the house that was there, just so you could see where it is. Now this kind of addresses in section what we think is there. So we have satellite topography that shows the berm about here, but from our visual, we think it's really here. That's our next step to get this survey. I don't think satellite can pick it up with all the trees coverage right there. But our 5-story building is here. We have, I think we have 78 feet here and 74 feet here. So we got a substantial setback of 150 feet roughly from the building to the property line. That you can get a nice visual barrier right through there. We've done this, kind of come like that. You can see here in the trees, we taken one of our, taken one of our buildings and kind of model the height of it. You can see it's behind the trees here. One of the things we would do is we're talking about floating a balloon out there to kind of come out and make sure that we understand what the height is for these buildings.
Yeah, I think we'll get feedback from the people that are familiar with it. I mean, some of the stuff was pushback.
And then this one was really off. We think it's really more up here from a visual walkthrough, but we have to confirm that. That's just, again, from the foliage that's there. So these we kind of go through and see each one of these. It gives you a good sense of, there's 99 feet of barrier there, so we can do a lot with this. And along this is where we figure we'll have little walking trails and things in here, but keep them to this side so that we're not in someone's backyard as well. This was a rendering, an image of kind of the heart of the project. This is one of the existing buildings here. This is another one of the existing office buildings here. This is the building A, and we'll go back to the site plan to give you a framework of this, where it is. And then this is just the corner of building C over here, but creating that great little, environment within here that everybody can share ideas. These are some just schematic level floor plans of the buildings to give you a sense of what's going on. Floor plans. And then these are our schematic elevations. And we picked up a lot of the existing brick and feel of the existing office buildings and try to tie it in a little bit, we don't look the same, but kind of bringing that synergy so that when you have the office there and the residential, they feel like they fit together. And that will be our next spot. I've got an elevation for each one. Go back to the site plan. Oh, here you go. So what we've done in here is we're one of the desires I know is to try to create more than just residential in each one of these buildings. So, we're certainly open to having successful retail, and we're suggesting in each building, like in here in the middle, we work with the town to kind of work through where those locations should be and make sense. But something that would be, a coffee shop, a small stuff, something that would support that community itself would be acceptable as long as we do successful, we're fine with it, right?
In the lobby.
Ordinarily, this would be all apartments here. So we're saying, well, maybe these aren't apartments here. This would be a little coffee shop or something here. That's kind of, we're just shading here. These are the zones because we want to make them kind of focused to this center here. Over here, we've got one of this building centered this way, and I'll go to the site plan and come back. We'll show you. Just elevations. Flip through those, but again, they're all pretty much the same feel. See, this one is located here. Again, everything, we've got a reflecting pond and green space here. You can have a plaza outside, have a little coffee and stuff like that. It creates a great little feel. Those. Same, our building heights right now, schematically, we're at like 60 feet. We got 64 feet to the top of the parapet here. Top of roof is 56 feet. So 60 feet is, we're trying to stay under for the roof. These are some examples of some of the amenity spaces that both Sovereign has in some of their existing buildings and some of the feel that we're trying to create within these things, so that some of these would be shared spaces for the office and the residential as well. So we're just trying to create a good feel, and it's going to be a very nice elevated feel. This is actually several of Sovereign's different spaces. This is a great one about this one. I'm going to go back to the site plan. Just kind of recap here. Where's my slider here? This is not here. Just go this way. So we were talking before. So in this cluster here, we're highlighting here, we're highlighting here, we're highlighting here would be those zones that we have other than residential, so that they're all focused into the center here. Okay. This building, we're looking at flipping. We have this a 4-story and 5-story. We're looking at this would be 4-story and this would be 5-story to soften the edge over here. That would be helpful, I think. And that I'll open for questions. Well, one of the things we really are trying to do before we go to the next step is make sure that everyone's in agreement that the MUD4 is the path forward, because that would be the way we want to move forward on this. It gives us the ability to do what we want to do, and we want to get buy-in that the town does support this.
So to explain to the board members, with the MUV4, the way that is written into law is that they will work with the planning board as they would for any other project design, but the final design over the whole site also needs approval by the town board. It's not just the planning board that approves an MUV4. So they're here today with us to get a sense that where the town board feels on this project, because if this group is just like, no, we don't want it, then there's no point in them moving forward. To that, I've sat down with them a few times with some people from planning. It seems like a very interesting project. The height has been something that I've mentioned to you guys before. I definitely think 4 stories, especially near the residential, fits much better into the neighborhood. One thing that we had talked about overall was that you weren't planning on building all 8 buildings at one time, that this was phased.
Yeah, I think what we
Right.
said was maybe the phase was, because I think the concern was that, I think for the zoning that it had to be attached, they had to be like all adjacent to each other.
Yes.
So I think we said the top 2 buildings, if we have a ton of success with the initial phase, we'd come back and discuss those other 2 buildings and see if there's an appetite.
And I think also from some of the members from the planning board that we had talked, that whole plaza between A, B, and C, I think that was something that we really wanted to see if there was, in a phase 1, that concentration would also have the most success, I think, for you guys. If it worked at that ABC, then definitely seeing about building out from there. Yeah. Thoughts from the board?
Just about the traffic on wide waters, it's just one lane, both ways.
Got a lot of reading material.
Traffic study.
I'm sure.
We submitted it, and basically the conclusion came back, said there is no significant issues with what's there right now. There's enough to support it without indicators. And page 9 of this gives you the conclusion at the bottom is really.
That is our road, right? Wide Waters
Yes.
is a town road. I mean, it does make it easier if there are any adjustments that needed to be made to it to help. They would be within our purview. But I don't know and the traffic study saying that there would be significantly improved traffic or increased traffic. I don't know how much we would be adding like lanes per se, but definitely pedestrian improvements, because we're looking to have this to be more with residential there, more pedestrians around and being able to access the gym or Marshall's Plaza or the trail up by Towpath. So
Some crosswalks here, some crosswalks here. Yeah.
I mean, I know the office market really well, the business I'm in, and the area has way too much office space right now. I mean, and it's not a Syracuse thing, it's a country-wide. There's just so much office since COVID and the 2-day-a-week, 3-day-a-week work week. What's that?
Who's got that?
Figure it out, there's a lot.
There's a lot. I mean,
There's a lot.
you talk to anybody who's got office space and they can't get their employees to come back.
We put in a ton of effort. So we were so we bought the building, just a little history. We bought Wide Waters along with a larger portfolio, 30 buildings in 2015. We got occupancy in Wide Waters up to the mid-90s pre-COVID, which I think had to be the highest in I think a very long time. We've renovated every single one of the buildings in Wide Waters. We've done all the parking lots except 5790 Wide Waters. We've replaced roofs. We've done everything we can to lease up, and we've been, I think, relatively, successful in coming back from COVID and leasing back up. But the actual value of the buildings has gone down significantly. Just even where we've leased up, the same income is just not worth what it was, years ago. So, not that everyone should cry for us, but.
We did out space in there at an engineering firm. It was in February, they were finished up right before COVID. Beautiful space, 15,000 square feet, gorgeous. They still haven't moved in it.
Why don't you take the buildings that's empty and retrofit it?
We looked at that actually. So the buildings, there's
Empty, right?
we have one empty building, 5790 Wide Waters. Community Bank just moved out. They bought their own building. Why they did that, but they did it like 3 years before their lease was up, but whatever. So we looked at it, the floor plates are too big. So like you need depth. So in order to do apartments, you need to have like a big hole in the middle of the building. And the conversion, so the way office works is, what we call the loss factor is around 15%. So when you convert to residential, you actually lose square footage because obviously people won't do that for an apartment, but they do it for office. So between the two, it would make no sense. And there's just leases that go out forever. You know, we have probably, yes, but 50 tenants probably in this park alone that all have different lease expirations. So, I mean, it would be ideal for us.
You foresee 5790 renting again though?
5790, I think, is probably a user building. We have had users look at it. And, you know, we've been successful selling to users.
When you slide that T up, engineer it and that works together.
Moving forward towards the fountains.
Yeah.
I think so. That
So
would
if you
be-
take that plaza and move it up, and make a nice courtyard there and use the community bank building as apartments. That way you don't have to build 8 buildings, build 6.
Sorry, you're saying use this as residential?
Yeah.
That's what he was saying. We've done that study and it's not off the table.
My biggest thing is if you got kids there, which, you know, you might not have, people aren't having children as much.
Yeah.
You know, what about the traffic's the big thing, and you need a play area. You don't have much of a play area, you know what I mean?
I
We've,
think that's by design. Like, 'cause I thought of that, like, oh, I wouldn't.
You got office people, and you got residential people, and they're all moving, like you say, you're gonna be different types.
So the vast majority of the apartments, sorry, I go off you.
You're fine.
So the vast majority of the apartments here are 1-bedroom apartments. I don't think we have any 3-bedroom apartments, so it's 1 and 2-bedroom apartments to try to discourage.
Yeah, you got advertising 1 and 3 people in there, but go ahead.
We have,
I know the game.
and we've, you know, we're here, you know, honestly, after we found out that the school, you know, the population of the school wasn't really, or we were told wasn't as much of an issue most of the time when we've done these projects. That's the biggest concern, is just, you know, overpopulating the schools.
JD said that they got room for work.
Yes. Oh, JD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah. Everybody's now.
Yeah, I think it's not.
You're doing too.
The delinquent kids.
I mean, my feeling is, I mean, we need apartments. There's no apartments in DeWitt. I don't think you're gonna build 6 right away, but I think if you built 1 or 2 of them, I think it would make the park more vibrant. I mean, drive through there during the day. And I can tell you, Salina Meadows has been in foreclosure for 2 years, Salina Meadows Office Park, just similar to this.
That's what I'm saying, you use one corner, that upright corner for residential. You know, incorporate that community bank in that. I mean, it's kind of.
Yeah, I mean, there's a scale here, so.
That'd be your trial area up in that corner.
Yeah.
And if it works.
There's a certain amount of scale here that we're like, you know, if we're not gonna be permitted to do some scale, we're already not basically postpone the 2 buildings at the top. It's just not gonna make sense for us, just, you know, based on size, economics, and just, generally, so, you know, obviously if that's the feedback, you know, we completely understand, and everyone here is, yeah, it's not my town.
I'm with you, just like you said, it's gotta.
We're fine rejiggering though, absolutely. You know, if there's, you know, we're open to rejiggering, we're open, you know, we've heard about the walking trails, is a big thing. If there's a park that would help there, instead of doing retail, if there's some sort of community use for some spaces, you know, we've seen a lot of it, you know, around the country, and all the towns that we've been in front of have had different, you know, things that are going on that we don't know about. So, you know, it's helpful to get feedback from community.
You go ahead. No, go ahead.
You mentioned market rate prices, so that any affordability clause and anything.
We haven't, we're open to it first, you know, say that first, you know, depending on number of units and definition of affordability. It's fine, you know, it could make sense. I don't know that that's the type, you know, I think that there's enough demand for market rate, and you're looking for, the people in our office park are obviously really good targets, and, you know, generally the jobs in the office park are, you know, financial services, law firms, you know, insurance companies. So I don't know.
So you're thinking people that work in the park are gonna wanna live in the park?
Potentially, that's what we've seen before, is like, especially for younger people, it's super convenient, and if you can create, you know, a place,
Work community, right?
and just because there's no new apartments, so by default.
Yeah.
or gym, park.
That's why there's no playground.
We'll put a playground. You want a playground?
So speaking to that, to the affordable part, where we have addressed that at the town so far has been with tax incentives. So that kind of opens to the question of will you be seeking any kind of tax breaks or incentive as part of
I
this
think so.
project?
We haven't spoken to zoning yet, and I have not, this is preliminary. We can't, again, I've expressed this to, planning, we can't spend a significant more money without having some sort of indication of a plan. So, where we've generally been is we have, some sort of zoning framework in place, and then, by no means an approval or anything else, and then we go through a process because it's, between engineering, all the other stuff that we have to do. There's a ton, landscape plan, lighting plan, civil, geotech, flying the balloons, there's just, it ends up costing a lot, especially for, this number of units. And there's a lot of research. There's all these initial barriers that could come up between sewage. We need to get will serve levels for sewage, water, electricity, which is usually the easiest one. So, that's why one building or two buildings or three, just doesn't, it doesn't pencil for us. And, we're, at this point, we're in 2015, but at this point, we're an institutional owner. A lot of what we own is, now skyscrapers in New York. This is my baby. It's my favorite project. It's been ultra successful. It probably knows better than anyone else. I'm involved in every lease here, to this day. I love coming here. I think it's an awesome community. Rochester too.
So I'm new to this board.
Welcome.
Thanks. Explain to me why you need a tax break to come here and make money.
So we haven't researched it. So a lot, so essentially we're going to be increasing the tax base significantly here. Whenever we build a building, long term, it significantly increases taxes depending on, what we build. What we've looked for in exchange for that, the rents are extremely low here. So we will be looking if there is a program, if there's a trade-off for some affordability. The rents that we'll be getting here for apartments, are some of the lowest that we've seen in the country, and that's because we're the project that we just did recently is in Boston. Another one was like in an affluent community in Connecticut. So Syracuse by nature for this type of apartments is lower rent. And so, the economics are, very tight as is. But, it's not, it's all a conversation. It depends on, again, on, scale comes into it. If you get a certain amount of scale, then, tax incentives, could be less. And, if there's an affordability component that will reduce rents to a point where the units are not profitable, without even looking at it, the units won't be profitable. So,
So the programs that we've put in place here, the town wouldn't be eligible. So they would be talking at county level incentives, and I believe all those county level incentives do have affordability requirements to them, and we've matched anything that we've done here has at least the same affordability requirements.
Yeah.
So that would be involved if they were going to look for those. So did you have?
We haven't spoken to, very briefly, to a zoning attorney who I think got the whole thing wrong, but it's nice to see everyone. I think that would be the next step. And no offense to Matt, but attorneys are probably the most expensive part of this. This part of it. So that So I'm not sure what the tax incentives are. We're going to be obviously going for whatever is available, but not at the detriment. If we're told no, then it's just it's all just a piece of paper that if there comes out yes or no.
I like the concept. I do. And the question regarding, excuse me, affordability was on my list, and that's already been discussed. My other question then is, should this go forward as it goes forward in the density of, happens in more cars, more people, security? Is the security element of cars, people been factored into this, as well as just the overall safety consideration of persons walking? It's just makes me think of what's already happening, more cars, more probability of people trying to get cars. So is that the town of DeWitt that would be patrolling, and or would there be additional levels of security, private security?
We're fine with putting it, I don't think we've ever had any sort of criminal incident, except a month ago, there was a young kid that started driving around in a circle and hit one of our light poles, and his mom called and asked if we wouldn't prosecute, and we didn't. There hasn't been, but you're absolutely right to ask, because it's a different thing in the daytime than the nighttime. There's limited cars during the daytime. We do have people leaving when it is dark out, and we haven't had an incident here. In other buildings we have, but I don't know suburban. We haven't done any sort of safety study, but it is a relatively low ask to have patrolling at night. So we'd be fine with that. That's not a significant cost.
In the housing that you showed, 30 some years ago, we lived in that housing. Behind that.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons why when Church had bought the property back there, was because it was quiet. It was not a lot of activity. But I do appreciate the consideration of height, as well as the utilization of natural barriers to prevent, just to keep it for the private residential to be able to maintain their quality of life, as well as enhancing what's on the other side.
And one of the things we also, I didn't mention, but there's like an easement right here that comes through, so we want to connect to the neighborhood, so they can enjoy some of the trails and stuff like here too. So we're showing a spur coming through here. It's not on our property, we would have to work through that, but we're open to that as well.
And did I understand correctly that the residents of the apartments would have, the persons that the buildings, the office buildings would have accessibility to the amenities that are in?
Well, we actually have built, they're not huge ever, but we have amenities in 5795 Widewaters, where we built, gym, conference room, kind of loungy area. Sorry.
No, separate. This is, that's over here.
Yeah, like the office tenants really, even in New York City, where, there's obviously a very high demand for amenities at this point, the key amenities is conferencing, fitness to some extent. And here it's probably more important, but you also do have a very nice fitness center in the park. So, and then we build random things like golf simulators and pickleball courts, stuff that, is less impactful, but good on our tours. So, again,
It'll help.
Right.
yeah, so,
Mini golf course, mini golf course.
yeah, we have a putting green here that,
That's
Yeah.
on 5795, right?
yeah,
It's counted as the original building. The office.
the original build for this, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I know the guy that put the trees there 40 years ago.
That was.
Yeah.
I like it.
It was supposed to be, Conjo came in, his father told me, but they were gonna put like shopping, there's gonna be a shopping center there. And Bert Rhodes talked me to go to office,
Yeah,
because he can just build shopping down. That's how it became, underwater.
yeah, demand a lot, just historically throughout the country, office buildings were built 70s and 80s, going to the late 80s, and then they're really, I think here too, there was very limited development for office in the suburbs other, like probably through the early nineties, and then it just stopped. I don't think any of our competition, so.
Campus, what is the last? Campus, what is the
Yeah,
last?
Pioneer
place?
Business Park,
I think,
yeah.
Yeah.
When was that, nineties?
Yeah.
Yeah, then
It's
the
pretty
big crunch stopped everything.
Yeah.
We were doing office buildings for Pioneer and, all through Syracuse up to 80, in late 80s and 90s, early 90s, then it just stopped.
And we keep, we've kept, we have not let any sort of recession or anything stop us from moving forward. We just did a 90,000 foot lease with the state at another building, Sanders Creek, 111 Sanders Creek. So, we have, continued to put, I think we put, it's $4 million into that building very recently. So, we've continued to try to be, good steward of these buildings. We sold to doctors when we can and tried to be as entrepreneurial as possible in the market.
So speaking of that, there's no niche for the elderly with some doctors in these professions?
So we put, so 5792 Widewaters has an eye doctor and a fertility clinic in there. We tried to do more medical. 5794 is arthritis health. We sold that building to them. Generally, there are two problems with medical. One is parking. The requirement for parking is often double what it is for an office tenant. The second is, well, I guess there's three. The second is generally high-end office tenants don't want to be in the same building as medical tenants. The third is just to build out medical space is triple what it is for office, and you need infrastructure because you need extra plumbing, everything else. Yeah, everyone has exactly 10 rooms, sinks and stuff.
We have a housing problem with the elderly.
So this generally the two groups that go into 1 and 2 bedroom apartments are people that are very young and people that are older. When they sell their house, this is the great stuff. Yeah, and this is going to be like, we've done a little bit of research, and there is no housing in DeWitt, no availability in DeWitt, and the stock that there is extremely old. And even if you go further out, if you look at new developments, like John did with the Iron Pier, I went there myself and tried to not pretended I was trying to rent. I wasn't actually trying to rent, but I asked for a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and they told me that there was a long wait list, and I couldn't even in advance when tenants were rolling. So, we think that it's a very viable project, but TBD. And we're willing to invest in it even if it's not. So even if we're going to be putting a lot of capital. It's good for the town, kind of no matter what happens. I know everyone, being nice to me, but I don't think you necessarily are as concerned about profitability for us as much as just the increased housing that, will come. So,
And that's the nature.
and that's a give and take. So,
In an outlying area here, not in the town, they just broke ground on a luxury adult. I don't know.
Senior housing.
Luxury senior housing, actually, I think it's dementia
Great market.
care, right?
Yeah, I don't-
Dementia care.
One of them are in
They put the word luxury in there, which was like.
that doesn't cost a lot to put the word under.
My point is that would be more, this would be more affordable. So-
Well, no, affordable housing, it's, I think people conflate affordable housing with Section 8 housing and, low income housing, like very low income housing. Affordable housing, generally speaking, just means that you make a certain salary relative to the community, and the rents are adjusted down a certain percentage. And when you say affordability, generally that percentage is anywhere from 50 to 25% of the total apartments, and people are living, you wouldn't know affordable versus not affordable. It's legal to do separate entrances in most places, and it's not, it's a way of bringing the community together. And here, candidly, more people may qualify, but it's also going to be much harder. Affordable housing in our Boston development, I think, is like 150,000 income gives you affordable housing. So it's it's different. Yeah, exactly. It's based on, it's based on the community, it's based on median income.
Any other questions? General thoughts. I mean, I like the project. I think there's definitely, adjustments here to be made as we go through the design process to come up with something that I think works both profitable for you and protects the community. But I think it's a great start. We are working out what exactly our next step was. Ilana, we talked about that. Was it a referral that we were considering doing?
Yeah, possibly some sort of referral. Or gives their basically conceptual approval to the idea so the planning board can move forward. Like referring like any sort of zone change that happens to the planning board.
Yeah, I think basically we're referring the project to the planning board for an MUV4 consideration, and then the planning board will work through that process with town board involvement, but then final approval by them and by us at the end. Is that?
I think so. I think what we would be looking for, first of all, we'd like to get more feedback up front, I think. If there is, we can adjust, and maybe there's, one more meeting that is this is what we've asked for, this is what we can do and can't do, and see if it's acceptable. As I said, generally we have some sort of zoning parameter before we start. It doesn't sound like that's really going to happen here. So
The way our MUV4 is written is that there's no approval before the final plan is done. There's no formal approval there.
Basically is
Becomes the zoning. Yeah.
got it. So, I guess, for us, that's just going back and seeing if we're comfortable. That's just, there's the risk, obviously we've never done that here. It sounds like it's relatively new for the town also. So,
Yeah, we just wrote the MUV4 about
2023.
3 years ago, and this would be the first project that's come this far on moving forward with it. So
Just so I understand, is the MUG4, is it a two-step process? I thought do you put it in place over the zone,
yes.
right, first?
No. So no.
I thought that's how it worked, but maybe not.
Yeah, no. So we did this. This is already within our MUV2.
Right.
We did that process almost a decade ago. So that is a two-step process of we put that in there. It still needs final approval at the end. The MUV4, because it can fit anywhere in the town that's over 25 acres. We didn't pre-approve. There's no first step to that one because it's just basically it's everywhere in the town is eligible for it. So it is just that final, that final step. That's something to consider about if we want to make an adjustment to the law at some point. I mean, the town board can make a resolution of support. The town board can send it to the planning board. That was the idea, was kind of an implicit support of the project. Unfortunately, I don't see that there's anything that's like legally binding until that final plan.
Understood. So I think, I think the discussion is, we'll see, how that works. And I know that there's discussion, between the two, and then, we'll be, we'll obviously, we've been, pretty open, I think, and communicating, and
Your project's probably gonna inform us if we do need to make changes to our process. So you're somewhat of a guinea pig, so we figure out how all this stuff works. It looks good on paper until you actually go through and do the project.
100%. And you still, like, just to be clear, like,
It's pretty vague still. It's all per development plan. So a lot of it is pretty vague.
so I guess what we're just looking for is what could stop the project. Like, there are obvious things that could make the project not work. Sewer, if there's not, the correct sewer, or there's too many improvements that need to be made, it's not financially viable. Even if you're within, like, even in Massachusetts, that's a project we're currently working on, the state overrides zoning, but you still need to be able to make the project, like, no matter what, the project still has to work, and there's a million things that can come up. So we would like just kind of a general list of what would stop the presses, so we could do that part first, you know, and have a process where at least, you know, we're not spending, you know.
I haven't heard anything.
So we can talk with our engineer and our planning board and just see what things is just sewer and water and we can talk about that. The only thing from a planning perspective from my seat that I've talked about with you guys is the height on the buildings next to the neighborhood. But otherwise, I don't see anything that would hold it up to like that's going to say that, you know, this just isn't going to work. You know, that would come up from where we are now. Does anybody else on the board see anything?
I mean, generally, you know, all we're seeing is yellow boxes still. And
100%.
we're elected officials, so it's hard for us to say, yeah, this is great, we approve it.
Little concept.
You know, there's gonna be some public hearings in the process. Like to see what the planning board comments are, because you're gonna go in front of the planning board. And, you know, as a board that's gonna vote on the final zoning, we'd like to see what, you know, maybe the planning board comes up with something that we didn't see.
Yeah.
But I think in general, the comments here are fairly favorable.
I can't
The
believe it.
board has felt the same way conceptually, has been in favor of the project. We had a working group who met with these guys several times before it came to planning board. It's gone in front of planning board twice now.
Story
But,
now, I'm going back.
you know, they wanted to come and get some sort of
That's nice.
conceptual buy-in from this board before they start moving forward, put all the money into the street plans.
Again, we have no expectation of voting on it and approving it. It's just what we're looking for, you know, and, you know, if it were zoned, we would have we would have to still go through the same process, to get final approval. So, you know, again, you know, like the height, like for us, the 5-story height issue next to the housing is great to know now, so we can address it and, you know.
And that's not a deal breaker. You're
No, like a deal breaker is if we can only build 2 of these buildings, that's probably a deal breaker. A deal breaker is if we have to do 50% affordable housing, that's a deal breaker. So like there are things that just, you know, and it's not a deal breaker for us. There's, you know, it's, you know, it really is just like basic, you know, that anyone in the room could do. So.
I think from that perspective, your first step of zoning is kind of already approved. The town board approved the MUV4 for anywhere in the town that meets it. The planning department, the planning board leadership, and the working group have discussed it. This basically fits the MUV4. We're willing to accept an MUV4 proposal for here. The final step is really the site plan. And really the only additional thing is that where any other project would just be the planning board approving the site plan with an MUV4, the town board has to approve the site plan as well. So
It's a really good point. If you look at the purpose of the code here, you're doing exactly what the purpose is stated here. So it's kind of just lends itself to that conclusion without a formal one.
other than I haven't seen in talking to the planning board or from here this morning that there are any roadblocks beyond technical ones at this point. And so we can sit down, have another working group, I think, conversation about exactly where it steps forward. If anybody on the town board has any more comments, feel free to give them to me and I'll bring them along to that. And, you know, we can, you know,
Our strategy, we test out this for the height, so it's all based on numbers. So we said, well, if we could drop a floor off and maybe increase the length of a building, then it kind of helps us.
I think that
So that's the
work a
next
lot.
step we gotta look at, and it's redefined. So we wanted to make sure that we understand.
Again, as Carrie said, these are yellow boxes. Easier to change at this point.
Right,
so.
right.
Yeah.
And we did this across the street from Wegmans, very small scale.
Yep.
And it went very smoothly and so he got his MUV zoning over there and it built 16 apartments, so it's.
But it makes a total different look.
Yeah, and it works. I mean, this will bring vibrant to the facts, you know.
Yeah.
You love Wide Waters. I live close to this. I drive through it all the time. And it's quiet. I mean, it's a sea of pavement. It's not vibrant.
It's very quiet.
I mean, again, this was built for the 80s, 90s. And, we're 30 years later now and times have changed. So if we can get some neighborhood community and, it's already mixed use because you've got Marshall Plaza right there, which is one of the most successful retail plazas in the county. So, creating a way for,
Connection, yeah.
Connection for people to live there, work there, play there. You got the Empire State Trail right there. So
Yeah, we historically use local contract, like, it's, just even in the development stage, we use local contractors. There's a chance that we would partner, with a local developer, all that stuff. So, we want to be conscious of, we think we've been, good stewards so far in the community. I think. So, this is just, another way to try to, work together and figure out something that's good for us and good for the community.
Okay. Sounds good. Before I let you go, Peter, you had a comment?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. It's currently zoned MUV2. What's the height allowed on those?
So MUV2 is up to 4 stories.
And what's the height of the current office buildings
3 stories.
2 and 3.
in feet?
I would guessing 45 feet, 40 feet, it's a 3-story.
There is one, the one is a little taller. Yeah,
Yeah, that would be 3-story.
yeah, that's
Generally, office heights are 12 to 13 feet floor to floor, so you're talking, 45-ish, 50 parapets.
The picture that you had of peering through the yards off Marsh Drive didn't take into account that the whole Marsh Farms property slopes. And there's a significant height differential from towpath up and particularly from Marsh Drive up. If you look at where the camera angle, the slide above that. Go up. Yeah, between the houses.
Yeah.
If you think about what's behind the camera in that picture, the houses are actually lower.
Behind me, yeah, the street,
Yeah.
driving down the
So
street.
we're gonna have
higher on one side.
whatever
lower on the
the height differential is on these buildings, which could be up to 85 feet. You're talking, it's gonna be significantly amplified by the height differential. So you could be talking about maybe another 20 feet. So it'd be a difference of about like 100 feet from the guy across the street. One of my friends across the street at 205. He's looking up into a building.
I think that's why, one, we've mentioned trying to keep the height lower up against the neighborhood there.
An earthen berm, then you have everything.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking him over, he's gonna be looking over the berm. The berm's not gonna help.
And you put
But we're intending to put 20, 30-foot.
30-foot evergreens.
There, so you can't see. It would be a green barrier year-round.
The planning board has asked the applicant to apply a balloon at the proposed building heights for visual assessment.
All good comments, understood.
Yeah, no, we get it. I mean, obviously, there's gonna,
Everybody's gonna play well with that.
yes, those are the houses that are impacted by this. And you're open, like we said, the conversation about,
30-foot tree.
if there is something that, in those houses would want, as some sort of community center, whatever it is, and I know it doesn't make up for it, obviously, but if there's an issue.
And Max, what sort of notifications are you doing in the neighborhood?
I mean,
Where's he starting?
yeah, this is just the start of the process. There will be multiple planning board meetings that this has to go through. It's a zone change, so there will be
Board, can the public participate in the planning board?
during public hearings, yes. Yeah.
In the public hearings, but in
Yes.
the planning sessions, the work sessions, can the public make comments during those sessions?
But there'll be a public hearing.
Yeah, and then there'll be a public hearing here as well before the zone change were to take
By the
place.
time you get to the public hearing, it's sort of fait accompli.
I don't think so. Yeah, not for something like this. I think once we were further along, we'll have another presentation to this board before the final one. Yeah.
I'd be happy to come for neighborhood meetings or whatever it is. We've sat in living rooms before, and if there's adjustments that are made, now is the time to hear about them. We've been open with the town, but also, again, not looking to have.
And I didn't hear anything about the environmental impact on those Canadian geese, which is so.
Thankfully, they're not endangered, so.
I wish they were.
We can deal with that. You have to, unfortunately, I can't tell my wife, but I think the way to do it is you have to take their eggs, which is, sad solution.
Okay, if there are no other comments or questions. Great. Thank you guys very much for coming today. Yeah, we'll grab the butter.
Thanks again, everyone. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Have a good morning.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. I do not, but I can give you my phone number.
I'll take your phone.
Bill Gentile. And my direct line is 212 319 6366. And my email is W Gentile, GENTILE @SOBpartners.com.
Amazing, Teddy, let you live down
But I think I know you got everyone on it. I think on our website,
We,
No bomb threats, please.
okay, we just lost Carrie. Carrie.
Humans are bad.
Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah. Want to wait till Carrie comes back to start your presentation? Just give us a moment. We're going to wait for Councilor Mannion to return.
Next, anything new on Shopping Town?
I've not had an update, no.
I didn't even get back, let's have her resign.
Starting to get worrying. The longer, I never get that no news is good news when it comes to Shopping Town.
If you add 400 apartments in Whitewaters, then you're adding more apartments across the street in Shopping Town. Not only will it affect the market rates that you're going to get in the property supply, but it is going to affect the water and sewer.
It's definitely something that needs to be evaluated. Yeah. You can talk to Derek. Yes, there is something. Yeah. Go. You can talk to Derek. Yeah, he's gonna have an appointment he needs to run to. Okay. Hey, highway superintendent, you're up.
Yeah, so I'll go through the reports. If anybody has any questions, just touch on some of the bigger things that we do. Snow season, we were 100 plow trips compared to 63 in 2024, which is obviously up. We've had a few rougher winters. We also had a issue getting salt towards the end of that one year, so we ended up mixing some sand in with the salt just to extend it through till we got through the spring, which we made it fine. We were reimbursed 29,000 from salt sales to JD and ESM schools. On another note, salt is up $13 per ton since 2020. And the county contract will come out usually July or August, beginning of August, so we'll know what those numbers look like. But last year we were paying $60.97 per ton. So compared to $47.83 in 2020.
How many tons do you use?
Approximately 7,500 to 8,000. So recycling and dumping, tires we recycled were 341. There's costs in there too. Okra, last year we had 4.6 tons of trash, 254 tires. This year we had 195 tires. A lot more garbage. We had 18 tons of trash. So it was a big year for spring pickup. Dennis and everybody did a great job, honestly. There was a lot of more volunteers, I think, this year helping to pick up trash, which it's an ongoing process. It never ends. Roadside trash that we had picked up throughout the whole year was 24 tons. Constantly picking up trash throughout areas of the town. Personnel wise, it was about $4,700 with the personnel and equipment. Because a lot of times we'll go out there with a backhoe and the brush trucks to pick up the heavier stuff. And it's about $5,000 for the cost for that. Signs, most of our sign work we do in the winter, unless something happens in the summer. We go through the whole town trying to straighten signs, replace faded ones. Those are the numbers there that we had done. 34 new and replaced, posts 23, and breakaways 24. Sweeping, so we sweep the town every spring at 700 hours worth of sweeping in there. Anytime we try to go around a couple more times through the year, especially behind brush pickup when we can, especially in the neighborhoods. Brush removal is kind of one of our bigger things. Over 5,300 hours of picking up brush, 714 loads. Cost to have that brush tipping fees at Oprah was $53,735. Christmas trees, we picked them up in January. Leaf removals, another big service that we provide, about 1,975 hours into that. Anybody have any questions so far before I get too far ahead or if I'm going too fast?
I'm just like, $630 for Christmas trees.
Yeah.
They get that many.
Yeah, we
window
pick them up
trees?
all through January and right into February, yeah. Pick up a lot of trees, recycle a lot. And those, we
That's
dump for
interesting. I don't
free.
think it's that many.
Yeah, we dump them for free at Oprah. They do allow us to dump for free. So it's one nice thing.
Hmm.
And honestly, in the wintertime, when we're not plowing snow, it's a nice thing. Keep the guys busy. We keep them out there doing stuff. Tree maintenance, we spent 36,000 with Michael Grimm for dead street trees or trimming of that. Highway guys also go out in the wintertime and they will trim trees back. Another thing we do in the wintertime to stay busy. Mowing roadside detention basins, we had about 725 hours into that. And solar and landfill, 26 hours. My question was next, with this new company, they went up and trimmed and mowed this year. Somebody else doing that up at the solar panels with all that going down?
We didn't change anything. They should still be doing that.
Well, we've been doing it, but they did it this year. Someone else did it. So that was my question. I don't know.
We'll check in.
Yeah, we had to
Yeah.
look into that. Yeah.
Okay.
Some people.
So I just don't want to get a bill or anything. So. Catch basins repaired and rebuilt, 101. We cleaned and vacuumed out about 1,725. We have approximately around 2,600 catch basins townwide. We spent a little extra time doing that because we had used the sand at the end of that year. So we tried to get all that sand vacuumed out of the catch basins before it ends up in the streams and the creeks. Ditching and piping, we had 394 hours involved in that. Water main restorations, 107 areas blacktop and restored, and 134 areas topsoil restoration done. Car maintenance, we had 1,000 hours, 1,040 hours into that, which now we have a seasonal guy that's doing the car maintenance. He's kind of working underneath the police right now, which helped us out. We have a list of roads that we had striped down through there. Any questions on anything else? I keep going. Okay, roads that we surface treated, tape sealed, there's a whole list of them here. Julia Place, Buffington, we did all of the Drumlins neighborhood, basically, Carlton, Erider, Halton, Humbert, Lewis, Waldorf Parkway. Did some in Orvilleton, Brampton, Brockton, Downing, Fjorden, Hampshire, Lansdowne, Sherwood, Windsor, Cherry Hill, Cooper, Harper's Court, Rosewell Meadow, Crack Sealed Roads, Butternut, Linden, Randall Waring, Bergenfield, Braxton, Clara, Coronation, Holliston, Shalimar, Watson Woods, Woodbury, Woodside, Worthington, Hot Milling, Bergenfield, Coronation, Thorntree, Sealy, Kinney Road, and Towpath. We redid the whole bike trail through DeWitt last year that the state put in. We milled it, repaved it, restriped it, and put the white delineators up, which have actually worked out well. We respaced it out a little bit so they're not getting hit all the time. We replaced a few this winter, but I was very happy that they all didn't get destroyed. This is all the safety that we do: accident prevention, hazard recognition, legal aspects, pre-trip inspection, plowing, post-trip snow and ice removal. We just did a flagger class for all the guys, so they all got recertified for 3 years. So we waited till June till our seasonal people came in, so we were actually able to get them trained too. PESH, we do PESH training every year: confined space, environmental conditions, fire safety, heavy equipment, landscaping safety, injury and illness, lockout, tagout, PPE, right to know, sexual harassment, they all do, silica dust, slips, falls, and trips and falls, trenching awareness, and workplace violence. And then we're always constantly responding to catch basins, emergency flooding, trees, signs, water main breaks, obviously, and then salt in the road, ice conditions, whatever comes up. Any question? Anybody might have?
I think you guys do a great job. Thank you very much. Year after year, especially with keeping our roads clean and clear from the snow in the winter. You can always tell when you've crossed into the city of Syracuse. My four-wheel drive kicks on. So, but I did have one question. If you could just explain, I don't know. I know Carrie's had some. I don't know if anybody other of the town board members, but some of the road work that you've been doing. Yeah, the Cape Seals this summer.
The Cape Seals are a two-step process. We use a lot of them in the neighborhoods. We've been using it for 20-some years. So the first step is a oil and stone, a chip seal, and then we come back with a fiber slurry, all those roads. So in the interim, we try to get it tight so it's sealed back up with the second coat after 2 to 3 weeks, because that's a minimum we want it to set. We sweep it up. So we're set this year. They were supposed to be here last week. Rain pushed them back, so they'll be here Wednesday. So in the interim, it is an inconvenience. I mean, we sweep up the stone, but I mean, the way I look at it fiscally responsibly is it's 25% of the cost. It adds 10 years to the life of these roads. And honestly, after a couple months when you drive on it, you can't tell it's not blacktop. I mean, it does extend the life a lot longer. And the hot mix that we're using, they put a lot of recycled materials in there. And we've already crack sealed butternut. We did it 3-4 years ago, Randall Road. I mean, this does add a lot of life to the roads without milling and paving it. Because within 4 to 5 years, you're already crack sealing a hot mix road. So,
What's the second step called, Rocco?
fiber micro slurry seal.
Fiber?
Micro slurry seal. Yeah, which the other, there's a 4-hour delay. You can't drive on it, which I know that's an inconvenience. But we try to know, we notify the residents in advance so they know. But once if it's a nice cooler day and it's sunny, 3 hours they can get on it. But they really has to be 4. The heat and humidity really adds to the curing process. You know what I mean? So, and anybody has, I've answered a few emails. I copied you on them, and I'm more than happy to meet with anybody, and explain that to me. But, I mean, honestly, a lot of these roads do not need to be milled and paved. They just need a surface. It's like I equate it to, if you pave your driveway and you do nothing to it in 10, 15 years, if you don't seal it, it's going to deteriorate very quickly. But if you seal it every 2-3 years, you're protecting it. You know what I mean? Answer your question, kind of.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being economical and trying to get the most we can
There's
of.
roads that have to be paved, we
Yep.
pave, you know what I mean?
Okay. Any other questions?
How often do you do this Cape Seal?
Try to touch the roads at least 8 to 10 years. We try to
Every
something,
10
be
years?
surface treating at least, yeah, at a minimum. Because if not, they're just gonna completely fall.
Okay.
Crack, fall.
Any other questions? Peter?
I get this question a lot. What's with these counterweights up on Linden Corners, holding up the sign?
The poles, yeah,
I
that's,
know it's a state thing, but.
yeah, I don't know if they're gonna have to reset the poles, if they put the base in, not deep enough, Peter, but they did that like last fall. Gonna reach out and try to find out, but I gotta believe they're gonna have to come up with a permanent fix. They've done it in a few spots on that project. Yeah.
You also have way too many signs on it. You got signs in front of signs, you can't see.
Anything else? Great. Thank you very much, Rocco, for the report. Okay, next thing on the agenda, town board minutes from our June 22nd meeting. Angela was not able to do the minutes from our June 29th meeting with her vacation and the extensive public hearing comments that we had. She'll have those prepared for review at the next meeting, but are there any comments or changes necessary for the minutes from the June 22nd meeting? No. With that, do I have a motion to approve from Patricia, a second from Bernard? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we have a water adjustment request. Rocco.
Resident of Bradford Parkway that had a leaky toilet in the basement, replaced that, had a plumber come in and do all the work, send us a copy of the receipts like he was supposed to. So his original bill was $824.85. His adjusted bill will be $419.04 at a cost savings of $405.81. It would be his one-time adjustment if the board approves that. Anybody have any questions?
And they've never had an adjustment before?
Because you only get it once.
Because you only get it once. Correct. Are there any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve from Bernard, a second from Joe? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, post for 2 MEOs.
Yep, we'd like to post for 2 MEO positions that we have open. One resignation, one did not complete probation. So we were looking to post for those. So we did some interviews last week. Have a lot of nice candidates we'd like to bring back for a second.
Any questions? All right, do I have a motion to post for 2 MEOs in highway from Carrie, a second from Joe? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Question on that, Max. Did we learn from the city of Syracuse about background checking?
Yeah, we've been doing backgrounds forever, Peter. Yeah, anybody that I hire.
All right, good.
First question I asked.
We get the background.
Did you ever follow up and have a conversation with?
Yeah, I interviewed one guy she sent me, and then another one got another job, followed me. It was nice before we had the interview and actually said, thank you. So yeah, definitely tell her keep sending them. Yeah, I'm hoping this one guy will work out. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we've had a request to waive a development permit fee. Director Cantrell had to leave, but our code enforcement officer is here to present.
Morning, everybody. So Michael Maselli from Josol Syracuse Inc. is requesting a penalty fee to be refunded, waived and refunded for a project they were doing. On June 26th, code enforcement officer Leah Baker went by the project at 6723 Towpath, which is the Liberty Resources building. And they were doing a roof project, which we require permits for commercial roofing. She spoke to somebody at Liberty that day and the following day, but they know they needed a permit and we stopped by on, myself and Leah stopped by on the 29th and spoke to somebody from Josal, Nick, one of the project managers, explained the whole situation that they need to come in for a permit, which once you're doing a project without one, you have to double it. They came in that afternoon, applied for the permit, we got it to them, so they were all set. And I'm gonna correct what he put on here. We charged them $8,010, and the penalty was $4,005. That's what they're requesting. We waive and refund.
So contractor did some work without getting a permit,
Yes,
and that contractor has been around how long?
Probably quite some time. I thought it said in the material they forwarded that it was an emergency situation. That's why they had to. That's why they had to.
it does say that they were experiencing active roof leaks, but, and there is a provision to begin a project without a permit in an emergency, but you're required to apply for that permit the first business day you can. They were working on that on a business day, so they could have before that day.
I believe the way our code is written, I think there need to be consequences for not following our code. For, I mean, we do want it to have people actually get permits. It's becoming a bit of an issue townwide of people not getting permits for work. I will say this contractor is a long time DeWitt contractor. They actually do work for the town as well. Again, you know, Liberty Resources is a nonprofit centered here in the town as well. They were doing work for them again as part of the emergency. If there were active roof leaks, I could see them getting up there and then worrying about the permit later. There's definitely a lot of extenuating circumstances here. If we were to waive the extra fee, I would want it contingent upon them signing an agreement with the town that basically this is their warning, only warning, and that if this happens again, that they not only agree that they will pay double the fine, but that they need to pay us back what we're waiving this time.
That's a great idea.
When I'm reading the code, I mean, it says upon a showing of undue hardship. So whoever's requesting the waiver needs to show undue hardship. Have they done that or not? It's the,
Undue hardship on the doubling of the fine.
have they suffered some undue hardship? They're saying, well, it was an emergency, we went out there quickly, we fixed it, and then we worried about the permit after. And therefore doubling the permit is really an undue hardship because we had an emergency that we fixed and we really didn't deserve to have our permit be doubled. The other side of that is they knew they needed to have a permit and they should have done it or could have done it or whatever, and they didn't. So therefore, it's not a hardship to have the code applied to them. So that's really the question that you guys are looking at.
The only thing I would say is not everybody knows when you do need a permit or not.
Correct.
We're obviously open to phone calls and letting people know, but I'd say probably half the time that people do work without permits, they truly aren't prepared.
And I did want to say for
They
this,
are penalized anyway.
yeah,
So,
we did deal with, in dealing with them, I told them to pay. They asked if they could not pay it and then asked for the waiver. I said, no, you need the permit now. Pay it with the increased fee and then ask for a refund on it. They didn't argue with me. They basically did. They came in that day. They did pay the increased fee. And then we asked them, you know, there's a process outlined in the code, submit a letter, and they have done so. So they have at least followed once they, once we identified the problem, and they didn't fight you or Leah, right?
Always get arguments. They're like, you know, you can just waive that. They were very cooperative. compared to many of them, they're very close.
Just be careful of that. It's not just because they didn't know. I don't think not knowing is not.
No, that doesn't
Correct.
stand.
And that's what I.
Since we learned
Yeah.
ignorance is not a good enough excuse,
Correct.
so.
They always talk about this.
I would say without the, it being an immediate situation of needing to fix active leaks. And this is who basically, I mean, this contractor is when we have active leaks, this is who we call.
Emergency contact.
Well, that would be a reason. That would be a reason you could use to justify the waiver. It's not
It
just. that-
depends, generally, if you're just reroofing
So you have a bunch of.
or residential, we do not require it.
Commercial,
Commercial, we do for re-roofing, because there's more involved, generally speaking.
Does a resident need a permit to?
That's what I was just saying.
I said no.
If you're just re-roofing, you're just putting new shingles on.
Yeah.
You're not getting into the framing where you're not replacing the sheathing, you do not need a permit. But there's more codes that are involved in commercial buildings,
Sure.
so that's not required.
I like what you said.
How does the rest of the board feel?
good with it. Give them the warning.
So then I will take a motion to waive the doubling of the fee. Okay, and we'll work on the actual wording of it, but in acknowledgement of the emergency situation, the board agrees to waive the fee, the doubling of the fee, contingent upon them signing an agreement that this is a one-time emergency situation, and they would agree if they do this again to
Doubling
Doubling
fee
fine.
would be an undue hardship in this case because they had an emergency.
yes. Okay, do I have a motion for that? From Joe, a second from Bernard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Make a note on that one, Nate.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Derek. Oh.
Just so you know. Please come back later.
See you later.
Okay, we have a motion for a water improvement, water quality improvement grant as part of the CFA. We are trying to see exactly. So we have a draft resolution here to approve. Wish our engineer was here today. Do you have any idea exactly what is in the WQIP? So we've done,
It's down the road for Barda.
I think this was just some of our WIA grant stuff that had been in there.
Yes, what it does.
Yeah,
Support projects that directly improve water quality or habitat, promote flood risk reduction, restoration, and enhance flood and climate resiliency, or protect a drinking water source.
That one?
or is it the butter? This is the butternut one.
I talked to him about the butternut one, and I talked to him about we have water. but I don't know.
Okay, so maybe this is, okay. So
Nothing else for a grant.
the background on butternut. There was a butternut watershed flood mitigation study that was done about 10 years ago, 5 to 10 years ago. And there is this program for through the CFA for state water project grants that is open to flood mitigation that has been identified in an already approved plan. One of those things is for Butternut Creek in the plan, there is an old railroad bridge abutment that is just up Butternut Creek Drive here. It is currently, it's not owned by CSX, it's owned by State Department of Transportation. It abuts property that the town owns, but it was identified as one of the major reasons why this road floods when there's major rain events. The The design was for this project, the estimate was that it would drop the height of a flood event by up to a foot if that bridge abutment was taken out, because it would not have to channel the water and be a choke point. So we are applying for a grant to be able to get state money to take out that bridge abutment.
It's like to acquire a vacuum truck.
Not this one. Is this one doesn't, this is a different one.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Well, I mean, those are the vacuum truck.
And that's the resolution. It says it's to acquire a vacuum truck. I'm seeing that the grant would cover 75% of the vacuum truck. The town would cover 25% through local funds. That's what this resolution at least is saying.
Well, we'll confirm that it is the right one.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll talk about that one. We're doing a whole bunch of CFA grants all at the same time, so that's okay. So anyway, we are looking to see grant money from the state to take that out to help with flooding on this road and in this area. Hopefully that foot would keep us from having to close the road down. We're also seeking grant money from the vacuum truck. That one Rocco can talk about.
Yeah, we have a 2017 vac truck. It's coming due for replacement, and there is a program out there because we're an MS full. Well, like Matt said, it's 75, 25.
75, 25, 25 by the town.
I'm not sure of all the parameters, but I think we would qualify because of the size of our town. So that would definitely be something I'd be interested in pursuing.
Both these resolutions talk about the vacuum truck as far as the action.
And then, okay. So we have, this one specifically is to the vacuum truck. I definitely think that's one we need. So I will research on if there are any other resolutions that we need to approve, but right now we have the one for the vacuum truck. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution approving the submission of a grant for the vacuum
I'm
truck?
just proposing to acquire the grant. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Motion from Bernard and a second from Joe. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Check register. We have two, June 22nd and July 6th. Do we have any questions? Okay, seeing none, I will take a motion to accept the check register for June 22nd. Motion from Patricia, second from Carrie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes. I will take a motion from Patricia and a second from Carrie to approve the check register for July 6th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, one late item that didn't make the agenda but was brought from the police commission was to see if there was any interest from the town board in enacting a holding fee of some kind for the e-bikes that are showing up again at the town of DeWitt boundaries. Bernard, is there anything that you can add to this conversation?
Yes, it was discussed in the police commission that it is just becoming more and more of a nuisance and a hazard. Bikes are left, not only alongside the road and during person's yards, but they are encroached right up onto the thoroughfare where people are driving, driveways, and it is just, and they are not just they're not picking them up within the 24
No,
hours.
they're not. They're not.
They are,
That's the
they are
problem.
for 3, 4, 5 days at times.
All over North
And they're,
Yeah, and anywhere near the city. They're
Every day
in,
with Polaris, there's 4 or 5. Every
I think
day.
people are driving them to and from work.
Yeah, it's after hours. Because when I go to work in the morning, there's 2 or 3 bikes by the bridge at Polaris. They come pick them up the next day, there's 2 or 3 bikes different. Whether it's a scooter or a bike, it's different.
Yeah.
So it's a nighttime.
I've just noticed that the ones that are near my house, like on Kirkville Road, they're left in the same exact spots every time. So I think it's people that are using it as a form of transportation.
And I
They leave
understand
them.
there are people that perhaps do need to use them for transportation, but then they need to put them out of the
Well,
way.
the company needs to, yeah,
It's the company needs
Yeah.
to pick them up.
I know, Kerry had, what was it, a year or so ago, had a conversation with them, but they were supposed to fix the radius that they weren't supposed to come to, but they must have lifted it because they're not only North Townsend, Kirkville, they're within, we're staying right now.
they're getting further into the town as well.
Yeah, they're in.
And it's all GPS, so.
I do seem to notice them more at the boundaries, but if they're, there might be holes within their
Yeah,
GPS
they're-
of where they're.
Or even up by Jewish Community Center. Along, what's that, Townsend?
Thompson. I think they just get over the hill and they.
Coast down.
Coast
Burns area and Thompson's.
I haven't seen many in our neighborhood.
No, there's-
It's uphill.
Yeah, 'cause it's uphill. I think they,
My neighbor's downhill.
yeah.
I don't know, can we enact come up with a fine for
It would have to be
everyone?
some sort of local law ordinance.
Why don't we go to the local law and just tell them, hey,
Pick your stuff up.
But $50
It would just be generally items like.
Well,
that,
the
like
only-
property.
So the only part to that is I just want to make sure that from Rocco or whomever we're expecting to pick them up, that we have the ability to pick them up and store them.
Seeing other municipalities have thought about this, talked about this, so there's some other ordinances out there that I can look at, see what they're doing.
those things are happening, but I don't know if Rocco's guys have the time.
We have a pickup with lift gate on it. I mean, it'd be something like I could get a seasonal kid to work on. I mean, if you put something together. I hate to tie up a full-time guy, but you
I don't
know,
care if they break it, throw them in there.
Exactly. I would like to run with my tire.
See what it's- doing, it's just so we can keep it.
Is that
Damn thing, bro, you gotta swerve around on the car door.
I do worry about the ones that are in the shoulder and in the road.
they are.
That's what we're gonna be regulating is in the public property. We don't go into private property.
But in the right of way,
Left on public property. It's a safety hazard for us. That's all gonna be in the law, but I gotta take a look at it.
we'll have Matt take a look at what other places have done
Let's find them $50 a piece.
and we'll
We'll
coordinate.
try to find something reasonable based on what people are doing.
Okay.
'Cause
I
just a
mean,
couple weeks
is it
ago, there were
one-
there were 3 of them on Oric and Johnson.
Mhm.
I mean,
Oh, yeah, right at the T. Yeah, I've seen them there.
People
Yeah.
that are using for work are responsible. It's the people that ain't using for work, they just throw the damn thing, you know?
I come home late, it was dark on Kirkville Road, right before the tracks that they just stopped using. Like right after the quick fill, and I saw like red taillights in the bushes, and I'm like, is that what I'm seeing? And I thought about it, oh my God, I hope somebody wasn't hurt, and I just ignored it. I went back the next day and looked, and it was a VO bike in the bushes.
Mhm.
So God only knows
They brought them up.
if they were trying to steal it or.
I said she's been in contact with people.
We'll work with,
She ought to give them,
we'll reach back out and say, hey, this has gotten again, that we're gonna investigate.
I mean, it's
Is it one company that?
It is, yeah.
It's deep summertime right now, so it's like.
Try and get someone else.
Yeah, it's peak time.
VO bike scooter
Yeah.
ride.
Sure, for sure.
Are there any other town board updates? Okay, with that, then I'll take a motion to move to executive session from Joe, second.